This episode of Tekzilla is sponsored by Netflix, GoDaddy.com, and GoToMeeting. Coming up in this episode, how to record more than one track of audio on your PC at the same time. Simultaneously, it's called multitracking. Dual displays, display pics for the person who wants massive desktop acreage. And a viewer tells us to stop hating on the Vista. So heat up a bowl of chili and get yourself ready. Tekzilla starts now. Welcome to Tekzilla. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
And we are excited to actually have functioning machinery. It was like death of hardware week for me.
Really?
My EVDO modem died. Last Friday, the motherboard on my $500 PC died.
You're not having very good luck. You're cursed.
Open box motherboards, maybe not a good idea.
But you feel better.
I feel better.
And I feel better too.
No one's hacking, no one's wheezing. And I'd like to personally send out an apology to Ryan Block, the man that runs Engadget, for apparently secondhand sickness that came from Randolph to me to Veronica to him. And hope that Engadget productivity is back to its normal levels. Pew. It's Earth Day today. This day, well, you know, we're recording on Earth Day. You do anything green today?
I took public transportation.
Very green.
That's good, right?
Yeah.
But I don't have really any other options, so.
Well,
that
you could walk.
We'll just pretend. I could have walked. That's true. It would have been very far.
Like 19 miles.
Yeah, not so bad.
That would have been.
Did you do anything green?
Well, actually, I'm buying more rechargeable batteries. I have all CFF bulbs in my house. I lectured someone for leaving their computer on all weekend.
That's important. You got to turn off the computer and also turn off your monitors too.
Yeah, if you're not using it, shut it down. Especially, actually, HD TVs can suck down amazing amounts of electricity.
Unreal amounts, just by hanging out and being like in sleep mode.
Don't forget to recycle your electronics. Actually, you know, basically, anything that you can keep out of a landfill, keep out of a landfill. And don't print if you don't need a hard copy. Save trees.
Who does that? I always get these emails where people say like, be conscious of the earth and don't print out this email. I'm like, who like sits around and prints out all their emails?
I know someone who does.
And like sits at a table and just like,
there's someone.
I will respond to this one.
I know exactly someone who does.
Actually, the CEO of Motorola is known to do that.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I have to admit, you know, that it would be nice
to... He dictates his emails to a secretary.
Who writes them down?
Who writes them.
And then prints them out for verification, right?
She prints out all his emails every morning.
That's so sweet.
That's sad.
I want a secretary so I can waste trees.
Yeah.
Into the email bag.
Yes, yes.
You ready for the first email question?
I am ready for the first email question. Our first email comes from Joshua, and it's actually a response to a viewer question that we had last week about Joomla and Mambo. Joshua writes, I'm a web developer working for my local school board. I am currently rolling out 54 school websites on Joomla as a base platform. Joomla seems to be cleaner and a bit more robust versus its older yet smaller brother Mambo. The online support for Joomla also seems to be a bit more professional and extensive. We choose Joomla for its end-user easeability, if that makes sense. But if I was the only contributor, or if I was aiming a tech-savvy end-user group, I would opt for Drupal. Drupal, although more difficult, it can offer a more stable platform than either Mambo or Joomla. Of course, all of these run just fine on a LAMP or WAMP setup, but I would say they run faster on Linux. Joshua.
Thanks, Joshua.
Yes, that was an excellent other option that you can use. Drupal is very well known.
I like saying Drupal.
I like saying Drupal too. I love names of things. They're just so much fun.
Drupal, LAMP, Razorfish, Dancing Weasel. We received another helpful answer to a question we had last week. This time, Paul chimes in with some advice about Softimage XSI. He says Softimage actually has a version called Foundation, which is significantly cheaper than the version talked about in the show. I think the retail price is about $500 US. Additionally, they have a free version of XSI called the Mod Tool. He also strongly suggests people avoid Blender, blender.org, the open source tool we talked about last week, if they're looking for work in the 3D industry. It has a totally non-standard interface. Nothing you learn in Blender will translate to any standard program. Essentially, the only reason to learn it is if you are someone who has no desire to ever have a job in the 3D industry. I know of no serious professional 3D animation company that uses Blender, and Paul's over at Fusion Digital Productions. And actually, I want to thank him for the heads up. I am not in the 3D industry. I have used Blender on and off, but obviously I am not a 3D professional by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, he's not so much of a Blender fan.
Well, he's got a point though. If it has a non-standard interface and it makes it more difficult to transition to professional tools, that could be awkward if you do want to work in the industry.
So yeah, if you want something that's easy to use and if it's free and it's open source, and that might be your ticket for now.
Yeah.
Finally, we get these useful comments from our forums regarding our cell phone to landline question last week. Kick Arse and Nick Foe suggested Phone Labs Dock and Talk from the site. The world's first truly universal cell phone docking station and charger now supports over 1,300 cell phone models. It's $160. Leroy chimed in with X-Link Bluetooth cellular gateway. From their site, connect to up to 3 Bluetooth-enabled cell phones to your home phones. Answer your cell phone calls from any phone in the house. That's $170. And Semicor posted this option from Panasonic KXTH1212B.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Wow, yeah. Panasonic Link to Cell uses Bluetooth technology to connect your cell calls to your home handset extensions. No more running for your cell, walking around for good reception, or cradling that little phone on your shoulder. Aw, $130 will set you back on that one. Thank you all for writing up here on the boards. Yeah, you can find the boards where?
The boards.
The boards.
Revision3.com/forum.
Yes, and then pick the Tekzilla one.
Yay.
And that's awesome. We've been having lots of fun in the forums. All right, so after the break, how to record multiple tracks onto a sound card, and what displays should you pick if you plan on running 2 high-resolution displays on your PC? Find out as Tekzilla rolls on.
Now you can do more and travel less with easy-to-use GoToMeeting. Instead of driving or flying to get to your meeting, just host an online meeting right from your computer. Everyone simply logs on to GoToMeeting.com during a conference call. They instantly see your computer desktop on their computer screen, and it's just like meeting in person, but less expensive and less time-consuming. The best part is you can try GoToMeeting free for 30 days. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and use the promo code Tekzilla. That's TEKZILLA. And finally, we're going to host a meeting on Monday, May 5th at 12 p.m. East Coast time with 15 of our fans to get your feedback and suggestions for Tekzilla and System. If you want a chance to participate, please send us an email to tekzilla@revision3.com with the subject line GoToMeeting Contest. Please include your GoToMeeting confirmation number and information. Remember, send your email to tekzilla@revision3.com with the subject line GoToMeeting Contest and include your GoToMeeting confirmation number and information.
Hey, it's time once again for our Gadget of the Week, where we share with you that one gadget, gizmo, or device that makes our lives just a little bit easier or a little more fun. This week's pick is Eutectic solder. Okay, I know this is an odd one, but I've been soldering electronics for over 30 years using regular old 6040 rosin core solder. That's a 60-40 blend of tin to lead, and I've just been introduced to 6337, a Eutectic blend, and found it can make a huge difference in soldering. It's still flux core and it still comes on a spool, but it's very different. It's that Eutectic thing. Now, Wikipedia says a eutectic or eutectic mixture is a mixture at such proportions that the melting point is as low as possible and all the constituents crystallize simultaneously at this temperature from molten liquid solution. Why do you care? A eutectic blend of solder means it goes directly from solid to liquid without that pasty weight in between. And it flows super easy, which makes it just the thing for surface mount components, and frankly, I'm liking it for small wires too, and pretty much anything I gotta solder to a printed circuit board. Now, a traditional 60-40 blend should get you a thicker coat for tinning the ends of your cables, but man, I'm really jamming on the whole Eutectic solder blend. Check it out.
All right, Pat, you ready for some more questions?
Absolutely.
All right, this next one is from Steve, and Steve is very serious about audio. And he writes, in his own words, very serious. Here's a multi-part question. Are there any decent sound recording cards which have 3 or more inputs? The goal here, thank you, Patrick. The goal here is to input the sound on multiple channels at once.
Well, serious boy needs to go, it's multi-track recording.
It's multi-track recording,
multi-track.
Yes. That is, I believe that is what you are looking for. And also, is there any software which runs on a beige box, non-Mac system, which can record from multiple sound cards at once? I ask because I'm also thinking about just using several cards in one computer because I have several one-input sound cards. All right, so that is a interesting question. We'll hit the first one first.
Okay.
And what I think you're looking for is some kind of external audio interface device.
DAC, ADC. M-Audio makes a really cool one that's like an 8x8, so 8 recording, 8 outputs, $350, commonly on sale at guitarcenter.com.
Right, you're not going to find one that's 3 inputs really. That's kind of, it's more like, you know, 4, 8, 16. 24. That kind of thing, exactly. If you're, I don't really know what you're going to find in your price range unless you're looking for something that's refurbished.
What's his price range?
I think it's like $100, $50, $50 to $100 is what he said.
Yeah, you're gonna have to save.
That's really not a lot of money for this kind of stuff.
Well, you actually found some software that might allow them to gang together a bunch of sound cards.
Right. Well, if you have those sound cards already, and if you're not willing to plunk down $1,500 for like a 003 or something from Marco the Unicorn, something that's really going to be a high-end piece of gear that's going to last you for a really, really long time. If you don't want to do that,
my M-Audio recommendation.
No, M-Audio was great. I have an M-Audio Firewire device at home that I use, but it has 2 inputs,
right.
And you want more than that. There are some kind of janky free software solutions that you can use that will enable you to use more than one sound card at one time. The thing is that computers don't really like using more than one sound card. It really kind of freaks them out and makes things not work the way they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And when you have a piece of audio software like Pro Tools or even Audacity, you have to tell it what sound card you're pulling in the audio from. And unless you have something that's kind of bridging those together, you're going to get sync issues and you're going to get weird, wonky problems on Windows.
Well, you were talking about, is ASIO for all? That was the one that's like the bridge. That fascinated
That'll let you
me.
use, I think, 2 sound cards at the same time.
So that's 4 tracks, could be.
Yeah, I mean, if you split the stereo track into mono, which if he's doing audio stuff, he probably doesn't want to do.
Okay.
Because he probably wants some decent sound, and stereo sound is going to be kind of where you're going with that, I would assume. So yeah, if we found some forums on the Adobe forums. Actually, Mr. Smith from our unofficial IRC chat found this for me. It's on the Adobe forums, and they talk a little bit about this exact problem. So we'll include the link to that in the show notes, and so you guys can go check out and contribute to the discussion yourselves.
Yeah, it's hard because it's really hard because you look at like I used to do a lot of editing in Sony Vegas. Lately, I still use Audacity. Audacity's free.
Audacity's great. Yeah.
Audacity is amazing. It's a free open source multi-track recording software.
Yeah, I think you can get 16 tracks on Audacity. And then there's Amadeus is another one that's really popular, and that has multi-track capabilities also. I use Sound Studio, which I really like quite a bit.
Adobe Audition's pretty nice.
There's so many options. There's so many options for software. I mean, you don't have to go super high-end and get a whole Pro Tools setup if you want to just do some recording at home.
I'd say start with Audacity. Can handle 16 tracks. That seems like a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Free.
And then search for Craigslist and eBay to find some gear that people are trying to get rid of.
Pawn shops. Trade-ins at the local, like look around for like audio recording and like the local Guitar Center, stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Guitar Center should have a lot of great stuff too.
Craigslist is good.
And microphones are expensive also, so unless you're willing to throw down a good hunk of change. But it's all going to last you a while, so it's good to invest in this kind of thing if it's something you're going to be doing for a long time.
Yeah, it's hard to kill a Shure SM58.
Yeah, you can just bang it. So punk rock.
Yeah, they're
so
actually more hammer than microphone. Our next question comes from Dave. He wants to know about hard drive sizes. He's wondering, I buy a new hard drive, for example, a 120 gigabyte drive. I install it in my machine. It reads 112 gigabytes. Is this due to the whole 1024 bit per byte ratio that retailers like to talk about? Or is it something more like a buffer for inaccessible sectors? This has been bothering Dave, and it's actually, this is a classic question.
Yeah, this is a super popular question. The whole, I bought a big hunkin' drive and it's smaller than what the label says.
Yeah.
Seagate, the world's biggest maker of hard drives, has a whole page dedicated to this very problem.
It's a fascinating read.
Yeah, it's definitely not a buffer for inaccessible sectors, though. It's way more annoying than that.
But the whole idea that's like reassigning sectors, Actually, the storage industry standard for measuring drives is a decimal, which says that a kilobyte is equivalent to 1,000 bytes. That's pretty much the standard of information, right? However, the rest of the computer industry uses binary, where a kilobyte is equal to 1024 or 1,024 bytes, because, well, they liked kilo was close to 1,000, and everybody was working with like 512 and multiples of 2. But basically, it's an annoying, the entire computer industry uses kilo to say 1024, except for the storage chunk of the industry. Now, another page on CK.com has this little gem. Simply put, decimal and binary translates to the same amount of storage capacity. Let's say you wanted to measure the distance from point A to point B. The distance from point A to point B is 1 kilometer, or 0.621 miles. It's the same distance, but it's reported differently due to the measurement.
Yeah, cheesy.
Very
Thanks, guys.
cheesy. Yeah, we're not going to go into the whole area of cluster sizes on the formatted plotter and how it impacts drive size. Clusters are the smallest amount of drive space you can use to hold a file or part of a file, and as you change cluster sizes, you can also minimize or maximize the reported amount of storage on your drive. The issues on that aren't as bad as they were back in the day. And really, like, unlike the great monitor debacles of a few years ago, do you ever remember back in the day when all of a sudden everybody started changing monitor sizes? Because they used to report the size of the CRT, even if it was recovered covered by the. So you'd have like it's a 17-inch CRT, except for like an inch and a half.
The bezel
of it
was like 4 inches thick.
Oh, it was so annoying.
That's
so
awesome.
basically, the standards were put in place to basically make you actually measure the visible screen. There's been no great movement to correct the discrepancy on hard drives, even though it's annoying. And every time you buy a hard drive, you go, this pisses me off.
Well, sometimes there is crud that they put on the hard drive,
Sure.
like on Windows especially. I hate to be a hater, because I'm a Mac bigot, but sometimes they do put superfluous like software on there that you can just delete it, and that'll save you some space.
I've actually purchased some drives from Mac vendors where they actually put a bunch of what we call shovelware on the drive because it's free and it makes it seem like you're getting a bargain.
That's nice.
But in any case, the whole decimal binary drive size discrepancy probably not going to change anytime soon. And it's basically storage industry uses decimals. Basically, a kilo is 1,000. Most of the computer industry uses kilo as 1024. Annoying, but it is what it is.
Yes. Well, it's time now for our sponsored movie pick of the week. I hope you guys all enjoyed Tron. And this week's pick comes courtesy of the show's producer, Roger, and it's Revenge of the Nerds. How fitting. How fitting. An 80s cult classic starring Robert Carradine, Revenge of the Nerds tells the timeless tale of a group of, well, you could call them social outcasts starting their freshman year at college. Due to a run-in with the jocks, the outcasts, also known as nerds, decide to form their own fraternity, and needless to say, hilarity ensues. Plus, we'll be setting up a thread about it in the Revision 3 forum, so after you're done watching, you can tell us all about what you think in the forum thread. And don't forget, if you're craving movie rentals without driving to the store, check out Netflix.com. With over 90,000 titles online, including Blu-ray titles, you're bound to find the title you're looking for. Plus, with 40 shipping centers, almost all deliveries happen in just one business day, and shipping both ways is free. Plans start at $4.99, but as a Tekzilla viewer, you can get a free trial by signing up at www.netflix.com/Tekzilla. And check out the forums where we'll be discussing this week's pick, Revenge of the Nerds.
Help us help you by having a free trial to Netflix.com.
Welcome to this week's freebie download pick, a free program, or in today's case, programs, that we find useful, fun, or incredibly interesting. Today's selections, Colloquy and MIRC. Did you know that we have an unofficial IRC channel? We do! Woohoo! If you head over to trs.zone-9.net and head to Tekzilla, you can chat with other fans, including me, Veronica Belmont, since I tend to lurk in there on occasion, like a creepy lurker. But while there is a web interface for this room, a lot of people prefer an IRC client, and we've got a couple of free ones that will do the trick quite nicely. The first is MIRC for Windows. This one has been around forever, and it's extremely customizable, so you can change the look and feel of the client. You can also use the scripting language to create applications within the program to make games or chat bots, which can actually be somewhat annoying, but whatever. Colloquy is our choice for the Mac. The interface can also be customized to your liking, and there are lots of plugins that you can use to add to the functionality. Getting into an IRC room is simple on either program. Just plug in the address into the chat server form, choose a username, and you're ready to talk to other viewers of Tekzilla about why you think we're Mac bigots, or, you know, how much you love us. And a super special thanks to Tuxotaku and Hallian for setting up the channel. You guys rock.
All right, this next email comes to us from Rob. Rob has a question about dual displays. He writes in, I work 2 jobs, so my time is limited, but my new build is going to be my best friend for the next few years, and I want to drop a significant amount of cash into my display. I currently run dual 19-inch LCDs, very nice. They work great, but I want more contrast, size, and definition. I've dug around and read reviews myself, but I want to know what you guys think. I love screen real estate, and I was thinking about getting a large LCD HD TV, but I think I can find better quality out of a pair of 24-inch displays. I want a fast response time and a very decent contrast ratio. This is strictly for work and gaming. I got a budget of around $800. Okay, Rob, this is a great question. Because basically what you're asking is, do I get one gigantic, like 37, actually probably not going to get a 37-inch. You might be able to find like a really cut rate 37-inch HD TV or like a 32, 36-inch HD TV. Probably, you know, we're talking about Westinghouse or Vizio or something that's on sale. The thing is, though, is what they call the kill factor comes into play, right? The reason HDTVs is the resolution goes up, you're actually more comfortable sitting close to them. So a room where like a 60-inch NSC TV, like a projection TV, would look awful because you want to be like 12, 25 feet away from it. You can actually sit closer to it, right? So as the resolution goes up, your eyeballs are more comfortable being close to the monitor. The problem is like, unless you have it gets awkward to like sit at a desk with a 40-inch display because you end up with this kind of like looking all over the place and stuff.
Right.
It also makes it really awkward because you end up because I've actually run with like a 32-inch flat panel on a desk just because I had one at the time, and then I had to send it back. It was sad, but you end up with like an application here and then all of your palettes over here, and I find it much more awkward than using 2 flat panels. $800 is actually probably, if you shop carefully, going to do all right for buying a pair of 24-inch panels. I'm a big fan of Samsung flat panels. They make really nice panels. I've got 2 22-inch panels.
I like the Dell 24-inch.
The Dell 24-inch, that was actually my next one was going to say. Basically, everybody I know either buys Samsung or Dell flat panels.
Yeah, the Dell flat panels are pretty sick.
Because they buy in such huge volumes. Dell basically has decided that they want to make decent flat panels to go along with their computers, and they buy in huge volumes, so they get great deals on really good glass. All of our flat panels in the office are Dell. Most of the people I know who are buying flat panels basically either buy Dell or Samsung.
Yeah, and I mean, more screen real estate really boosts your productivity.
Yes.
It's a pretty significant difference. So I'm into. You can actually do the wingmen and have a couple of 24-inch monitors on their side, because the Dell ones will rotate all the way. And then you can have like your computer, your main, maybe like a smaller, keep one of those 19 inchers around and have it in the middle, and have your wingman on the side with like all your feeds. So you just have like a huge page of like.
I'm seeing your desktop now. It's like a 19-inch, a 24, and a 19-inch with like dual graphics cards.
Yeah.
But no, I'd actually, what's your favorite? Are you currently running 2 desktops or a single desktop?
No, I just have my MacBook Pro with actually a 24-inch Dell.
Because now I'm wondering what the price on Dell's 24 inches are. Because it's amazing, because the price of because you can literally go anywhere from like $250 on sale up to around $600 for a 20-inch monitor.
Yeah, they can be expensive for sure. And those Apple Cinema displays are also beautiful, but way too expensive.
The Apple,
way too expensive.
The Apple displays are ridiculously overpriced for what you get. If you buy an Apple display, you're buying it because you are a fanboy. Sorry.
Who's the bigot now?
Yeah.
Who's the bigot now, smart guy?
No, it's just they're so overpriced for what you get.
They are really, really way too expensive. They're
shiny.
Beautiful. They look great, especially if you got the whole setup. But they're a little bit too much money. How's that price check coming along? Price check, aisle 5, Dell monitors.
Yeah, we're stuck in some weird sort of monitor hell.
So if you can get those, I mean, those are a really awesome choice, the Dell monitors, and Samsung apparently you enjoy.
I like that.
I actually did have a 19-inch Samsung LCD at one point. That was pretty good.
I've got 2 22-inch Samsungs that are awesome. I picked them up at Costco for $225 each. This was about a year ago, and it's been truly awesome. Ooh, okay, the ultra sharp 24-inch Dells are actually, the 1920 by 1200 are selling for $600 a pop. Okay. However, the E248 WFP, the regular 24-inch, which is also 1920 by 1200. That's not
so bad.
Well, okay, the contrast ratio, and Robert Heron, our boy who does the HDTV lifestyle, will tell you that a lot of contrast ratio measurements are a joke. But basically, the contrast ratio on the ultra sharp is 3,000 to 1. The response time is 6 milliseconds. For the regular $379, the E248 WFP, the contrast ratio is 1,000 to 1, but the response time is 5 milliseconds. And wow, they're selling a 27-inch flat panel now too for $1,000, and a 30-inch flat panel.
Well, there's a lot of options, so go online and take a look. But I like the Dells.
People have money to spend, you know.
They do.
But yeah, that's a pretty good deal. $379 for a 24-inch flat panel. Next, we have this interesting email about GPS and digital photos from Rick, who writes in, I have a Canon XTI and a Garmin Colorado. It's a nifty GPS device. Is there a way to automatically get GPS location data into my EXIF data after I return from a shoot? Currently, I mark waypoints on the GPS, and then I match the times in the photos to the waypoint data and enter the locations in manually. Oh, that sucks. That's a pain.
That is a pain.
However, there is a ton of software that can do this. What's really cool is actually the Canon 1D Mark III. If you want to spend a whole bunch of money on a new camera, can embed GPS data into RAW files profiles, like basically right in the camera, which is pretty slick. Some other higher-end Canons and a lot of Nikons can use a really nifty, it's a hot shoe-mountable GPS gadget, the DI or Die GPS from Dawntech.hk to embed GPS data into EXIF data automatically, like right on the camera, which is pretty slick. They've just released a couple of new models. They'll start at about $200. None of them, however, will work on your beloved Rebel XTI or my beloved and getting old, according to Lori Grunin, Rebel XT. Now in OS 10, though, you can use GPS Photo Linker or Geotagging Automator to automate syncing your GPS tracks with photos. So basically, you keep the track the entire time, you load it into the software, and it automatically syncs it into the EXIF data. Now in Windows, I've seen Locker, which is a pretty cool online program, which can automatically tag your images. Now, brace yourself, because a lot of names are going to go by here. Kind of the creme de la creme is GPS Photo Link. Should automate the data from your Colorado, no problem. $229. That's a little expensive. Image Ingester is pretty cool, does a similar thing for $40. Photo Mapper is free, and you can also check out Jet Photo, RoboGeo, and Microsoft Research has a really cool tool you can play around with at the Worldwide Media Exchange, which is also free. We're going to put links for all that stuff on the show notes. Lots of ways of doing that, because manually, wicked ripping pain in the ass, because we were getting our Boston on earlier. But there are lots and lots of tools, both expensive and cheap, that can automate that process. And I highly recommend automating it, because manually doing it is a righteous pain. It stinks. It sucks. Before we go on, it's time to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors. They're the folks that help us bring the show to you. So do us a favor, help them out. As you know, GoDaddy is a long-running sponsor of the show, and in recognition of that, we've decided to host a contest for the best GoDaddy domain name ever. Woohoo! Go to revision3.com/contest and enter in the best domains you have registered with GoDaddy.com. Actually, I have a secret one that I'm not going to tell anybody about. I can't win.
Really?
I've got a great one.
I have a better one.
No, no, you don't. You just think you do. Tell us what you're doing with a domain name, like she thinks she does, or what you plan to do with the domain, along with why you think your domain should win. Now, the contest entries are got to be in by noon on Monday, April 28th, and they'll be announced on Tekzilla on Friday, May 2nd. The winner's going to get a free plug on the show, so we point a little traffic at you, and you're going to get a free year of hosting from GoDaddy.com. Now, don't forget, if you want to make an impact online, do it with GoDaddy.com. .com names as low as $1.99 plus world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and quite a bit more. Now, you want to save some cash? Enter in the code TEK1, that's TEK1, when you check out, and you'll save an additional 10% off your entire order. Some restrictions apply. The site's GoDaddy.com has the details. Get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com and use TEK1 to help us keep the show coming to you.
Looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. Today's pick, Photoshop disasters. Like a train wreck.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Sorry.
Like a train wreck, there are just some things you can't look away from, no matter how horribly wrong they are. Case in point, Photoshop disasters. Now, this thing has been around for a long time. You've probably seen it all over Dig, but I wanted to bring it to you because I seriously am in love with this site. Photoshop Disasters is a blog that collects examples of poor image manipulation and photo retouching. Basically what happens when a Photoshop user is lazy, thoughtless, or just plain untalented. And to add insult to injury, a snappy quip or biting critique of said Photoshop image is included, just in case you didn't know what art and design faux pas you were looking at. With copious amounts of badly photoshopped images that would look at home on the front page of a supermarket tabloid or worse, this blog will give you a newfound respect for the art of photoshopping and those who do it well. Plus, you'll wonder how so many untalented folks got jobs at advertising agencies. If you're planning a career in graphic arts, advertising, or a job using Photoshop, remember, stay in art school and pay attention, kids, or your next Photoshop work just might find its way to Photoshop disasters.
There's some horrible stuff on that website.
You would not believe, like, hands missing, or like one-legged women, or the perspective ones are the best. Like, there's this one that has a car in a crib, or like in a playpen, and the car is like all the way in the back corner, and the playpen goes like way in front. So it's like not physically possible by any stretch of the imagination. Or there was one which actually the creator, the photographer that did the image, commented on the post. It looks like an African American woman's body with a white girl's head on top of it. And it's really, really, really bad. Like, it looks just terrible. And the guy was like, no, it was just the lighting. Like, and I don't know, the commenters went up in arms about it and tore him a new one. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, people put their whole careers on the line when they publish stuff like that, and there's always going to be someone on the internet to tear you down.
That's so fake.
Tear you down.
It's so fake. Your questions?
Yeah, fewer questions.
Wow. I
More
just
of them.
flattened out the energy. Hey,
Yeah, way to go.
We have an angry email. Actually, that's. You want to answer this one?
An angry email?
An angry email.
Oh gosh, all right.
Kind of like, the responses on photoshopdisasters.blogspot.com.
All right, well, our next email comes from Demonic, who has a bone to pick with us. Demonic writes, okay, look. I have respected your opinions and reviews for years, Patrick, but the whole I hate Vista thing has got to stop. I've been running Vista since the early beta days, and while there have been some problems, as with any OS, including your precious OS 10 thing, for me, Vista has been nothing but fabulous. I'm currently running Windows Vista Ultimate 64-bit and is the most stable OS I have ever used. I have a current uptime of 3 weeks running, and the only reboots I am forced to deal with are for major updates. Now, I will admit, with 32-bit versions of Vista, I did have the occasional blue screen of death while using BitTorrent or other apps which access the RAM constantly and in an aggressive manner. So in conclusion, please stop hating on Vista. And to kill all the other haters who swear it sucks for gaming, it games perfectly. Demonic.
Right. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Demonic actually, for a lovely read, Veronica, and Demonic for his spectacularly neat spelling. But look, reduction in productivity for me doesn't make up for any gains in security or the eye candy. Demonic and I were emailing back and forth about this. So let's clear up a few things. First of all, the Leopard, the new version of OS 10, just pukes constantly. If you have, I like to have 15 to 25 browser windows open, I have browsers kill OS 10 Leopard. At least Firefox, Safari, Opera's actually been pretty
Firefox
stable.
has so many freaking memory leak issues anyway that it will kill any operating system.
Firefox, we need to talk about the memory leak issues. And Apple, we need to talk about Safari. Your own browsers do not crash your operating system. Now, let's talk about reboots for me actually aren't the problem in Vista. Pig slow performance, intrusive security measures, missing drivers, and software incompatibility. These are my problems. For those of you who think I am an OS 10 bigot, I am not. I run Vista on 4 different machines. One of my primary desktops at home, one of my primary desktops at work. And I've been using Windows obsessively since Windows 95 was in one of its earliest betas. And never have I had as many problems with the Windows beta, much less an upgrade in the 10 or 12 years I've been living La Vida Windows. That said, I am finally seeing, and as I reported on the show last week, some performance improvements on my main Vista box post Service Pack 1. But frankly, like a long list of friends that range from product testers to programmers, I'm leaving Vista on a single box. Pretty much one box that I use regularly and another box that I use for testing, and leaving XP on most of the rest. It's just been really frustrating. A lot of people I know who will not touch OS 10 except at gunpoint, and then only if they can figure out a reason not to die. I'm just really frustrated with Vista. I'm frustrated with the upgrade. I'm frustrated with it basically on upgrading machines, and I've been frustrated with it on machines that came from the factory. But I've used it on 4 or 5 different machines, basically one primary box at work and one primary box at home. And it's kind of starting to clean up, but I gotta say, for the first few months, miserable experience. I'm not spreading FUD, I'm talking about my own personal experience with an operating system I purchased on machines I owned, and I don't like being frustrated by them. That said, I don't like browsers crashing my freaking OS 10 either, so nah. Anyhow.
I'm sorry I made you sound like comic book guy, too. I feel kind of bad about that now.
And actually,
he had a legitimate concern.
Something we show up, actually, Demonic put some together really cool. It's basically a performance tuning guideline for Vista. So we maybe talk about that on next week's show, if that's okay with him. So I got to say, Vista getting better, but Rogers had a miserable time with it. A bunch of my friends who are hardcore Windows-loving programmers have been frustrated with it. Demonic, you and a few people in our forums, and actually Robert Heron are the only people I know who are in love with Vista. And I am so happy for you. It's just been fraught with not joy for me.
We hope the best for both of you.
All right, our last email question is from Civilio. He has a question about screen brightness and battery life. He wants to know if having a darker background as opposed to having a brighter background is going to save battery life on a laptop. So if you go to the black space scene, right? Not so as you'd notice. The backlight is still going to be on even though the pixels are black, and that's what consumes most of the battery power used by your laptop. I mean, turning on and off the pixels on the screen a lot, but I still think the battery, most of the battery consumption is done by the compact fluorescence, little flat tubes of light that are behind your monitor screen. Turning down the backlight, in my experience, makes for a much better battery savings. So you can actually play around with Blackle.com. It's the version of Google with the black pixels.
Right, right. Google actually officially did that recently for the day.
It's pretty trippy when you're looking at it like, this looks so strange. Throw a black background on your machine, see if you can detect a performance difference or in terms of battery life.
Yeah, let us know and we'll talk about it if it actually did make a difference, because that would be good to know.
Turning your backlight down as much as possible, I think, is going to do a much better job of saving battery life. We're a viewer-generated show. We live on your questions, so email us, tekzilla@revision3.com. Tech help, product reviews, how-tos. You ask us, we'll do it. Got a little backlog on the product questions. As the product arrives, we're going to get them on the show.
We need the emails. We need them.
Absolutely.
We need them. They're like our nectar and ambrosia.
So send them in to tekzilla@revision3.com.
And as always, you can visit the fabulous forums at revision3.com/forum. And speaking of forum topics, don't forget to check out our movie pick discussion. This week, our pick was Revenge of the Nerds.
Go,
Thank you, Roger. Get into a friendly argument or a raging discussion on our forums. Good, bad, or just plain awful? Debate in our forums and let us know what you think. Plus, previous episodes of Tekzilla are waiting to be rewatched at revision3.com/Tekzilla. You can find more details on the site.
As always, I want to thank you guys for watching. Until the next time you've been watching Tekzilla, I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont. Bye.